All right.
What's up,
We
buddy?
are live. Hello,
Nice.
YouTube friends. I am with my good friend, Conshinz. His name is Brendon Wilkie. He lives in Port Alice, or that neck of the woods, British Columbia.
Paradise.
On, yeah, beautiful Vancouver Island. Brendan and I have been friends for over 7 years now.
Oh, I think it's
We've
longer
been
than that,
through,
dude. It's got to be
yeah,
longer than
seven
that.
or eight. I don't know, long,
I think I met you in like
long
2013, 2012 or 2013.
my gosh, long ass time.
Yeah.
And we we've gone through a lot. We've had some friggin' fun time adventures and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
Brendan is a guy of many talents and experiences, and you've done it all, man. I don't know. Why don't you just share what you want to share a little bit about your past and kind of
Okay.
what you've done, and maybe and then after that we'll get into what you're doing now. But just tell us, about the first 30, I don't know, 37 years of your life.
Well, okay. So I'm Canadian. I'm from Nova Scotia. So I got Irish heritage. I was born there. Born into a family that was heavily positive of art. Like my parents always encouraged me to draw, and they bought me a guitar really young, and they were really like artistic focused. Like allowed me to be an artist. So I was an artist since I was a little kid, man. Like I was like sketching pictures and writing poems ever since I've been a little kid. Like before I even knew what poetry or drawing was, I was doing it, you know. And then when I was
Yeah,
about 7 or 8, almost 7 years old, I moved to Ontario, where close to where I met you, and I stayed there for quite
yeah,
some time. Made some friends. Started a band. Had a high school band that I played with. Both those guys are now general practitioners. Both like my whole band, they're both doctors now. So my two best friends are doctors, and then you're one of my
right.
best friends, so you're up there too. But yeah, I had a band in high school, then went to college, became a chef. Worked all my teenage years as a chef, doing chef work, and then went to chef school, made it official, and then managed restaurants for about 10 years, maybe 5 years, and then during that time of managing restaurants, I got into support work, mainly physical and physical and mental support for physically and mentally disabled people. You're
Right.
the first time that I worked physical supports for people that don't have mental disabilities. So that was a nice kind of,
Right.
I wouldn't say a breath of fresh air, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation a little better. It was a bit more of an
Yeah.
intellectual conversation, which I appreciated. My
Yeah, it's
mom,
a different type of work, right?
totally different, man. 100% different, like
Yeah.
100% different. And like it's more PSW work. Like I'm a DSW, a developmental service worker. So I more worked with like people with developmental disabilities, and like
Yeah.
finding best ways for them to have as much freedom and as much success in their life as possible. And then I walk into a situation where, oh fuck, this guy doesn't need my mental support. This guy just needs me to lift shit and move his legs around. Fucking, I don't need to be as nearly as concerned as I was, you know. So it's kind of, honestly,
Yeah.
man. Some people look at that kind of work, like doing physical supports, as like very very emotionally taxing. For me, it was like retiring. It
It's a
really
breath of
was.
fresh air. Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing, dude. Then I met you, and then shortly after I met my wife. We have a son. We moved out west a couple times, moved back a couple times, but now we're finally settled on beautiful Vancouver Island and Vancouver Island
Nice.
North, and it's fucking beautiful out here, man. I can't wait to get to visit.
I'm so
Well, I might have to visit you because we can't bring a fucking bed in a plane.
no, unfortunately, my visiting and flying days are over. But I follow pictures you post online and stuff like that, and it's pretty
And my
amazing.
my
With that.
dad my dad is not doing so well, so me and Lionel are planning a visit around June. Just me and Lionel going out to see my dad, so I'll see
Oh,
you then.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Man.
nothing's booked yet. Nothing's totally. But I'm gonna visit you. I'll see you
Right.
once before the summer for sure. I'd imagine.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned, switching from developmental work to just physical,
Yep.
going from adults that need assistance with life skills to adults that just need physical assistance.
Directed
And
assistance.
yeah, so um, it's kind of an interesting story. Your first time you were essentially here at my place
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
meet me and assist me. Why don't you tell that story
So this
from
is
your
probably
point of
about
view?
2013, I guess. I just got
Yeah,
hired at Independent Living to work, and it was one of my first days. And for the most part, it's like usually what happens is the one of the lead that they call them leads on shift
yeah,
will call the person that I'm about to go meet for the first time and arrange a bit of a meeting. But I didn't know any of this. I was brand fucking new. So you're like, oh yeah, and Josh kind of had. I heard rumors about Josh that he was a hard ass. You know, like watch out, he'll fucking tear a strip off you. And I'm like, okay. So I go over to meet this guy with I think it was Tim. I think it was Tim that was there doing your work. And
yeah,
I walk in the house and I just hear Josh in the back room like, who is here? Who is here? Like, and then so I believe it was Tim goes in and talks to you. And before I even met you or saw you, you kicked me out
yeah,
of your house, and I went back to the office and sat in the office for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it was that your call was.
yeah,
It was probably even like a 3 hour call. So I went back to the office and just like sat on my ass for a few hours, and then I believe it was the next day you
yeah.
you had me back in officially to meet you because they should have set up the meeting instantly. Like
Well,
that should have been how it did.
what ILC independent living's policy is that the client meets a support worker face to face, right?
And you
Like
sleep
during the
naked, dude.
day.
Like you used to
Yeah,
sleep naked. Like I couldn't go into
yeah.
your room.
So
You're fucking naked.
you're supposed to do it when I'm like they're supposed to come by and introduce me like
Yeah.
the day before you do any like sort of training on
Mhm.
my care and stuff like that. So
Right.
and I was always a stickler for that because it's a level of respect, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't bring somebody over to meet me for the very first time and hello, I'm naked, right?
Well, and
So
I think there is this element of institutionalization where a lot of your
yeah,
comrades who also received supports in those buildings, they wanted people to come in and do and make decisions for them
yeah,
and come in and do shit for them. Where I'm just like, fuck that. I'm not doing anything I'm not told to do because I'm not getting paid to do that shit. You know,
exactly.
if you want to pay me to go clean someone's house without them directing me on what they want cleaned, you can go fuck yourself because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to support the individual who is in charge of me and who I am working for in that moment.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people that receive supports get institutionalized where they just give up. They give up
yeah,
for their rights, you know, and you don't. And that's why instantly I was like, ooh, I like this guy. This guy kicked me out of his house. He doesn't give a shit. He will tell you off. He says exactly what he thinks. And I was like, it was love at first sight after that, you
yeah, it
know?
was. Well, and because like you respected that decision, whenever you came back, you had the same attitude of respect, and I had the attitude that, hey, this guy understood that, so
Yeah.
this guy gets it. So almost right from the beginning, we worked together very, very well.
Yeah, very well. It was great. It was smooth, man. It was really smooth. And then
Yeah,
of course, because all the chicks didn't like you, I always got your calls. So then all of a sudden,
yeah,
every time I work, I'm going from your neighbor's place down the road. Who I'm not sure if he's still there anymore. We won't mention his name because he might watch this. But I go his house, and then I go your house, and then my day be done. I'd be done
yeah,
at like 11 o'clock. I work from like 6
right,
a.m. to 11 o'clock, like 3 or 4 days a week, and that was my schedule. It was great. It was great.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And
Can we mention J Bone? Can we mention him? Do you think? Does he?
I, he's moved across town.
Oh
He's
yeah.
not down the way anymore. But
Okay. Good guy.
okay,
Good guy. Lots of people have
yeah,
lots to say to him about him. But you two were my main dudes. I'd go from him to
yeah.
you, and I don't know, man. I made it work, and it was a good time. I can't even really remember why I left ILC. To be honest, it wasn't on bad blood. I forget what I was doing, where I was going next. I don't know what I
It
was
was
doing.
probably,
To
yeah,
work with
probably
you,
just moving on to something
or
else. And,
probably I think it might have been to work with you when you were
yeah,
direct
maybe
funding.
because I was going to, private care and all that stuff. So, yeah, like, and,
Did you talk about that in your video yesterday about going on to direct funding and what's
yeah,
involved with that?
exactly. I talked about like how there's different options and things like that. So
Mhm.
it was good. It was good. Like
And
talking
for
about
the Owl Creek
choosing
Coffee, for my shows, I've been saying 15% goes to Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy charities. Is that correct, or am I bullshitting people?
10%.
10%. I'll change that up.
I think you've
Anyway,
been saying 10%.
I've been saying, dude, I get drunk when I'm doing the show, so I just like, and all by the
There
end
you
of the show,
go.
I'm just like, yeah, fuck this, I'm just like saying a whole bunch of random bullshit. But people love that
For
stuff.
every dollar he makes,
Yeah,
He's gonna donate $100.
It's a weird business proposition, but it works.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
That's
dude, yeah,
awesome, buddy.
you mentioned like some of the women, were not keen to work. They take it personal, right? So like,
Yes,
I
that's the
sent you a
problem.
wave. I sent you a wave that had nothing to do with you. I didn't even meet you.
It wasn't even about
I had
me.
no idea who you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's
So
the
it's
problem.
nothing about you. It's about the fact that my rights weren't being respected. So if I sent away other people, sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, Josh doesn't like me." It's like, how can Josh not like you? He didn't even meet you,
Yeah,
right? He didn't
I,
even meet you.
I think some people have a problem with doing the bare minimum, and in a
Yeah,
situation like physical supports when you're in someone's home, only do what's required of you. Don't do anything else because that's not in the contract. Even Josh, as far as like I work at a
yeah,
detox facility now with recovering alcoholics and drug addicts
yeah. I
in
was
their
going to
in their
ask you about
first
that.
their first stages of recovery. And I don't intervene for anything unless I have to. If someone's going to get hurt, or if someone's going to get
Right.
punched, or if someone's going to pass out, or like bleed to death, or whatever, I do nothing. Like I sit in the office and I wait. And I'm there if people need me. And if they don't need me, then I'm a ghost. And I think people in the physical world of supports
Yeah,
forget the fact that you don't need to be the highlight of the conversation. You don't need to be the highlight of the situation. All eyes are not on
yeah,
you. No eyes are on you. Essentially, the eyes are on the
yeah,
person directing you. And if you can get used to the fact that you are only as important as they need you to be, because sometimes you're not important, and that's okay. Sometimes they don't need you, and that's okay.
yeah.
People get lost in personalize rejection based on personality and not about need. If you're not needed, don't do anything. That's my method. That's my method to do my support work for sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you more about what you're doing now. You explained a little bit. So how many people are generally under your sort of
Supervision.
purview when you're working? Yeah.
Well, it depends. COVID, we had to go to half capacity, so it was only around 6 or 7, but full capacity is 12. So 12,
Okay.
12 at once. And these are people, dude. These are not physically disabled people. These are not mentally disabled people.
Yeah.
These are addicts. These are addicts. These are conniving, manipulative liars in the
Right. So they
face
could
of
have mental illness.
yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
anxiety, depression, and
Yeah.
borderline personality disorder is really common. Borderline is really common with addicts, dude.
Yeah.
Like a lot of addicts have borderline, and borderline is one of these things where, like, so bipolar, there'll be like a big long loop of high of mania, two
Yeah.
weeks, and then there'll be a 2 week low of depression. And it will last a month. There'll be 2 weeks of mania and 2 weeks of depression, where borderline's like boom, depressed, boom, anxiety, boom, depressed, boom, anxiety, all within one day. So
Yeah.
these people are the literal definition of basket cases, but it's not their faults. You have to learn to work around it. So I think
Yeah.
I filled out a survey the other day for work, and it was just like kind of gauging our expectations of our employment and all that stuff. And they said, what is the toughest thing that you have to deal with at work? It is totally behavioral management. Like the first week that people are detoxing off, like, let's say, crack, they can't
Yeah.
sleep. They're surly. They're not comfortable. They're sore. Their back hurts. They're getting a cold. They're coughing. Like they just feel like they're falling apart. And then so I spend a lot of nights. I worked overnights there. I spend a lot of nights just listening. And this goes into what I was just talking about,
Yeah.
doing the minimum amount possible. Don't talk too much. If someone wants to
Yeah.
vent, just let them talk. You know,
Just sit there and listen. Yeah. For
listen,
sure.
be a shoulder. Don't offer your opinions all the time. No one gives a fucking shit about your opinions, especially
Exactly. Yeah.
especially when they're in a state where they need their own selves to become stronger. Like, for example, like when we first met and you kicked me out of your house, I'm like, well, fucking this guy knows exactly what he needs. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
have any questions. There's going to be no questions with this guy. What he wants, I will know. The worst thing to do is when someone expects you to do something and doesn't tell you. Because if someone doesn't tell me to do something, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to stand there and stare at them.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'm here. I'm
Because
here. Here's my arms. What do I do?
yeah. There's no point in going ahead and doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So the people you work with, got a couple questions. How long are they generally there with you for? And do you have any like quote unquote repeat customers?
Yes, they are normally there anywhere between 2 weeks, and one guy last year was there for 6 months. A
Oh
success
wow.
story. His wife was sick, and he was wanting to get better so he could take care of his wife better. He had real genuine motives, so he was there for a long time. But it's up to the person, dude. Like there is no time limit or anything. It's not like
Right.
after 6 months we kick you out. If you need 8 months, like there was a person staying there recently who's fucking just battling depression and can't find a good can't find a good apartment situation, and she was kind of a loophole in that situation where we normally wouldn't allow someone who doesn't have some kind of toxic relationship with drugs or alcohol, but she didn't, and she got in. And you come across people who are just trying to make their life better. But of course, where I live is there's more Native First Nations people than there are white
Yeah.
people. And that now
Right.
we have to talk about the generational alcoholism, where some of these kids are born alcoholics, and as soon as they have their first beer, they are a train wreck, and that happens a
Right.
lot. Like a lot of repeat people, repeat, I guess, customers or clients or repeat clients. That happens quite a bit, but usually the repeats are natives, and it's sad to say, but it's true.
Right.
So I see a lot of the damage that colonialism did to First Nations culture where I am, like
Yeah.
firsthand.
It's I certainly don't know what the solution is, but it seems to be
Neither
a
do I.
vicious, you know, repetitive, never-ending
Mhm.
cycle, right? From generation to generation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these I don't not habits, but I don't know, ways of coping
Yes,
are
and, and,
passed
and,
down, and
and,
they're
and
not
that's
good
the
ways.
world coping.
Yeah, they're trying to cope. Unfortunately, it's not a great way to cope, but it's we don't always make good decisions. Shit happens, and that's
Yeah.
awful. We don't make good decisions, and that's also awful too, right?
Yeah, it's the
And
Catholics,
I'm
dude.
not blaming the person. I'm just saying, like,
The whole
sometimes
situation. The whole situation.
the whole situation is shit, and we don't know what to do. So,
No,
you
and
know,
that's where I think honestly the solution is talking to the elders and giving the elders and the chiefs a voice. Because a lot of these chiefs have a whole bunch of great ideas, but they're never brought to Congress. They're never brought to Parliament. They're never brought
right,
to talk to their representatives. I think what we've done, like my honest opinion, is the white man needs to tap out. We've done enough. It's not our we have to allow the natives to create their own manifest destiny. Like we have to
right,
allow them to do their own thing and support them to make their own choices in whatever way we can, because I think that what we're doing, like with all the residential school stuff that's going on now, like I meet people on a regular basis that are in their 60s and 70s that went to residential schools, and they were taught to hate their culture and to never
yeah,
speak their language and to never go to their family gatherings, and they were taught to
like
hate themselves
as children, right? So,
as
like
children. Yeah.
that indoctrination that I don't know how you ever overcome that. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if you
either.
can.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. I think it's just fucked,
Like,
dude. I think.
you know, not the same thing, same level at all, but as a person with a disability, sometimes you could note like hints of not resentment, but like just like you're asking a family member for help. You can tell they're not thrilled to do about it, and there's this feeling of being a burden, and
Yeah,
like
burden. Hmm.
nobody was ever intentional about it to me. But if these people, like, if I still have that struggle today, feeling like a burden sometimes, like
Yeah.
I can only imagine how they feel where it was intentional for
Right.
that these people made them feel
Right.
like shit.
Worthless. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then that,
that's all.
that kind of that kind of takes you back full circle to what you said too, and where I think because I went from a world of profound mental disabilities to a
Yeah.
world of zero mental disabilities, it was hard for me to pity you. Like I didn't feel sorry for you because I knew people
No,
that were in your
I
exact
don't want that.
situation that were shitting their pants and couldn't feed them and couldn't chew and
Yeah,
needed liquid diets and couldn't talk. So it was like so I was a good candidate for physical supports because I didn't pity you. I didn't feel sorry for you. I have seen much worse. I've seen people in much worse situations, right? And even still, I don't even really pity them, to be honest. I focus on the good, dude. Like, how can I make
because
this person's life better?
pity isn't helpful.
Nothing. It's not
Pity
helpful at
isn't
all.
productive, right?
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
And like the best way to overcome shittiness is to like work to overcome
Yeah.
shittiness and try
Think
and do
positive.
stuff to be, yeah, be positive, be productive, and in your suffering, find things you can do to find meaning and purpose and stuff like that.
And
Now,
you're a beacon of light for that, dude, because you have showed me that I cannot feel sorry for myself. That is an anchor I am not willing to carry. You have taught
right,
me that. It's single-handedly you've taught me that. Where you're faced with all this adversity and all this stuff, and your body's fucking falling apart, and your lungs are fucking falling apart, and all this shit's going on, and you still hold your head high, and you're starting new businesses, like you're still an entrepreneur, like
yeah,
you're still killing it. You're not gonna stop, dude. You're not gonna stop.
yeah. Well, I appreciate those words, and sometimes people say you're an inspiration, and you roll my eyes, but I know you're sincere because I've even seen growth in you over the last decade, where you've gone from a person who was kind of flying by the seat of his pants for a lot of his
20
life, and
years, yeah,
now
20 years.
yeah, and now you got this awesome family, and you've settled down. You're making roots,
Yep.
and you got this great job, and you're doing a couple other things. I want to hear about some of your creative endeavors, your podcast, and
Sure.
your website.
Well, it started off with me and my good friend Paulina, who you know pretty well. We
Yep.
started off like I was on Instagram just writing poetry and meeting a whole bunch of writers, and we had this podcast where we just like we made a tag on Instagram. We just read other people's poetry, and that was all fine and dandy. But I kind of detest the Instagram poetry community because they keep on reporting me. You know what they report me for? I've had 4 accounts get totally deleted by Instagram, and I've deleted 5 or 6 myself. I get
Right.
reported for this is the classic report where they shut down my account. They say you are provoking suicidal ideation. So apparently
Um,
my writing makes you want to kill yourself. But this is a loophole that my bullies have found that works. So as soon as they see me back on Instagram, they gather up their minions and they all report me for provoking suicidal ideation. So that's ridiculous. So that's how I met Paulina. But then I
Because
started YouTube.
you can talk about suicide without
Yes.
promoting it,
Yes, I talk
like
about tons of shit,
by
dude.
saying like how awful suicide is and how like
How much
there are
I've been
other
affected by
options.
it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
even writing about depression, like I have major depressive disorder, man. I got schizophrenia. I have major depression with mixed features. I got PTSD. I
yeah,
got a brain injury. I got a bunch of shit going on. I should be allowed to vent. They didn't let me vent.
100%.
So around 2.5 years ago, I started my YouTube channel, and my buddy, you're the one who told me about StreamYard. I'll never forget that. But my buddy Professor Maines, who's a professor at Conshinz College, he's like, dude, have you seen these reaction videos to these music songs? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? So I watched a couple of reaction songs. I'm like, I can totally fucking do this. So I started making reaction videos, like had a shitty mic and a shitty camera. And my first videos are so unprofessional, like so unprofessional. But then I learned the tricks of the trade, and I eventually started doing music reactions, and that led into doing like a mixtape show. And now that has led into my show, which is called Reaction Radio, which is Tuesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific time, where I have 15 to 20 people watching every single day. And what they do is they super chat requests. So the first show is called Regular Time. It's $5 per request. We do 10 songs. Overtime is $10 per request. We do 10 songs. And if it need be, you guys still want to party, then we do double overtime, which is 20 tracks for $20 for 5 tracks. And it's going really well, man. I'm clearing after YouTube takes their cut, and I pay my producers and I pay my co-hosts. I'm taking home about $150 a night just in YouTube, dude.
Is it awesome getting paid to do your passion?
Oh, it's amazing, dude. And the thing is, I only work 16 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
I'm making as much as I make at work. Working 2 nights a week on YouTube. I'm making more as much as I do at my job. So literally, it's like I work full time with 2 part-time jobs. It's fucking fantastic. And then the podcast. So then there's
Plus,
live chat
while you're
podcast.
working,
Yeah.
you can have drinks and vape and do whatever you want.
Well, but also when I'm working
Swear.
overnight at the detox facility, I'm uploading, I'm editing, I'm creating, I'm writing. I'm getting paid to write. That's gonna all end
awesome.
soon though. So there's also the live chat podcast that me and Polly do, where you've been on a couple times, and we just basically
Great time every time I've been on it.
It's awesome, dude. I love working with Paulina. She has some mental issues that she's working on right now, so we're kind of on a break, but that's okay because through
Yeah,
my
I
website,
noticed that. I
yeah,
noticed there wasn't one this Thursday, right?
yeah, we're gonna go on Thursday, but she's got some mental health issues that she's going through, and I fully
Yeah,
support that. Like she struggles. She was in prison for 7 years. Like she's got a lot of shit that she carries around with her. Like a lot of memories. So I'm pretty. I used to be pretty strict with
I
her.
didn't know that because I
Yeah.
know that like hopefully she said on the podcast she used to do like sex work and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
used to be a
So
sex worker, used to be an escort,
yeah,
addicted to
so like
drugs like crystal meth and shit like that.
yeah, really interesting past, and she's got some kids, eh? So
Yeah, she got one kid.
oh, she got one kid, yeah. So that's she's an interesting person with interesting stories to tell. And I think the two of you guys together, yeah, you guys really work together well. You each have some of your own wild experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
you guys are seem to be like healing together almost.
Yeah, we are,
It's
and we
awesome.
the
Right?
we and the thing is about me and Paulina is that we've spent the last 2 years, 2 or 3 nights a week, working on our relationship and becoming
Yeah,
friends and learning about each other and learning how to work with each other. Like I'm sure right now for this podcast, for example, if you didn't know me and I was some random guy, there'd be a lot of awkward moments and shit. But me and you, there's no awkward moments because I know when to talk,
no,
I know when to stop and let you
yeah,
breathe. I know these things, right? And so we did a live
exactly.
chat podcast, and then recently. I'm actually starting a new podcast. We've done one trial run. So my website, so I'm combating Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and I have
Yeah,
created my own social media website. It's a forum. So it's kind of like Reddit, only it's a private forum for anybody to join. Uncensoredliterature.com. It's on the screen right now. And there's a girl, Renaria, who I've kind of elected as a moderator for the site, who's super passionate about the site, came up with this idea. She's like, hey, once a week, we should spend an hour just like going through the website and sharing what people shared. So every Friday, so I got a third podcast. So there's Reaction Radio Podcast, which is Tuesdays and Saturdays live on YouTube at 8 p.m.
right.
Pacific time. There is Live Chat Podcast, which is every Thursday live on Instagram at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. And now at 8 p.m. on Fridays, Pacific time, we're going to be doing the Uncensored Literature Podcast, the UL podcast with Renaria. Renaria is great. And
That's awesome.
each time, like for Ignacio, my co-host on Reaction Radio, I'm like, I taught them what mic to get, what software to get, what camera to get, and I did that with Paulina, I did that with Ignacio, I did that with Renaria, and now they're all like set up to podcast professionally with a good mic and a good camera, and they're fucking willing to work, dude. So I got a
That's
lot
awesome.
going on. I got a lot going on creatively, and that's kind of hard because me and my buddy Bill. Bill Fader, the guy who owns a grocery store in town, we're planning on opening up a pub within the next couple months. So
That's awesome.
shit's gonna slow down for me artistically, and I'm going to be getting more into a bartender / psychiatrist type of role because we all know the town
Yeah,
bartender is the town psychiatrist. So I'm gonna be doing that. But
exactly.
I think we're gonna be only open 4 days a week, like probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'll have like 3 days
Yeah,
to podcast and do art. So that'll be good too.
that's awesome. I was gonna ask you. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but
Something about live chat podcast. I just put out a lot of information there. There's lots of podcasts. Just go to
yeah,
Conshinz
podcast.
on
Oh yeah.
YouTube.
So all your podcasts are like first to YouTube, but then you also post. Where else do you post? Like Spotify?
Live chat
Anywhere?
podcast because there's no copyrighted material goes on Apple Podcasts, Google
Okay.
Podcasts, Spotify. It's everywhere. Live chat podcast and Reaction
Yeah.
Radio. Spotify doesn't have the same copyright measures as Apple
Right.
Podcast does. So my Reaction Radio only goes on Spotify. It is exclusively on Spotify and YouTube. And then my UL podcast just goes on YouTube and my website. So it's only for the members of my
Yeah.
website. I record it on YouTube and then I post it in the forum at uncensoredliterature.com for other people to enjoy.
Awesome. That's cool. Do you know how big or what kind of reach you're getting on Apple, Google, Spotify?
You
Does
know,
it doesn't give you those numbers, right?
yeah, it does. Anchor does give you those numbers.
Okay.
But live chat podcast, each podcast maybe like 25 or 30 listens.
Hey,
But reaction radio is different. Reaction radio on Spotify is like 50 or 60. Reaction radio is by far my most popular show. And that's the show that I'm making money off of. And that's the show that has kind of like built my community for my uncensoredliterature.com site.
Well, I've seen some of your reaction radio clips get more than 1,000 views.
Some of the I'm listening to, weirdly enough, I'm listening to a lot of Japanese metal, like progressive Japanese metal, and those videos are getting thousands and thousands of plays, and it's fun to listen to. I found this new what's the band last night? There's a band called Baby Metal, which is my first introduction, and then I found a band called Nemophila, which is like a psycho heavy metal chick band, and then
Wow.
Hormone, something the Hormone, Maximum the Hormone. I found out about last night. Maximum the Hormone, dude. These guys are insane. They do like. They'll have like a death metal riff and then throw in a polka riff. Like, it's crazy. These guys are all over the place. So everybody get into looking at Maximum the Hormone and Nemophila if you want to get into Japanese hardcore. I promise you will not be surprised.
Well, I'm gonna check out some of your clips for sure, and take a look.
Well, I got 25 clips to upload today from last night's show. Last night's show went on for 4.5 hours, and we played 25 songs, and Maximum the Hormone is in there. So after I'm done on this podcast, I'm going to go play with my son for a couple hours, and then I'm going to get to editing and get all my 25 reaction videos up. So what Reaction Radio is, how the show is set up, is that each song that we listen to becomes its own little individual reaction video. So you're not only paying me to play a song live on the show, you're paying me for your own little personalized reaction video. So people see
free content.
Yes, free content. Exactly.
It helps you create content, and not only do you monetize the original
broadcast,
the request, but like every video you post that gets 1,000 views, whether it makes you money or not, it's still building your audience.
Exactly. And dude, it's all about quality over quantity. I've never been, I want to react to the biggest pop band so I get the most followers. No, I'm reacting to like underground metal and underground hip hop, and slowly but surely I'm collecting like diehard fans, right? None of these people who subscribe and then unsubscribe a month later. These are people that are invested in my channel, right? And that's kind of the whole schematic of what I've set up, is that I'm attracting people who are dedicated to the music that I'm listening to. So I'm developing a really, really tightly knit die-hard fan base for the YouTube channel.
Well, you're not one of the million. Because if you do a reaction video to fucking Despacito or something like that, like there's already 100,000 of those videos out there from people who have
my favorite videos are the videos that have 10 views, and every view got me a subscriber. Because they're like, oh my God, I cannot believe he reacted to this guy, Like Khan. Like Khan is a new artist that I'm learning about, Kaan. His reaction videos get like 20 views, but they bring in like 5 or 10 subscribers each video. It's like, yes, that's
amazing.
It's not about the views, it's about the quality of the subscriber.
And it's creating a long-term audience, right?
Yes, exactly.
And like you said, your audience is like, they totally identify you, they totally are loyal to you, they support you.
They trust me.
Yeah,
to give good info about music too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's going well. And now the money's rolling in. So you put in the work. Like my advice for your channel right now is, don't worry about views and likes and subscribers. Just put out good content, and eventually people are going to find that. And the people who find it, that subscribe, are the type of people that you're going to want to subscribe.
Exactly. So right now, this channel is one of my 2 channels. The other one's kind of everything. It's kind of sports, politics, whatever I want. This one is more of it personal about, specifically Duchenne muscular dystrophy, but all disability, including mental illness and stuff like that. So you shared, a little bit about your mental illness and what you're going through and things like that.
Dude, I feel like I don't even have mental illness anymore. Like, honestly, that's awesome. Like, the antipsychotic totally takes care of the schizophrenia. The antidepressant totally takes care of the depression. I'm so equalized, and that's why I'm making such good life decisions, Josh. Because I am like stable. This is the most stable I've been. This is the most stable you've ever seen me. That's for sure. I was I was pretty quiet about my instability, but I was unstable for about 20 years of my life. And I feel like I finally got my shit together. And I think having a kid kind of promoted that for sure. Like I just had to.
100%.
I had to get my shit together.
Yeah, and it's been amazing. So when you had your kid, not long after, you came to live with me, and
Sure did.
Actually, it's probably the second time you.
I lived with you before I even met Emily. I lived with you.
Yeah, and then you were out west for a bit, and then you came back, and
Yep.
so
And I needed a place to stay, and Mike said I could stay at his place. He totally fucked up the contract, and I wasn't actually allowed to stay there. So I'm like, Josh,
yeah,
what do you need, buddy? So I was doing night routines with you.
yes,
Working overnight. So basically, I was living in your basement, which was totally sweet, tons of space. I was growing weed, and I was having a good time. It was really fun. But then I was doing your night routine. Became you wanted to talk about like good things and bad things about being a live-in support worker. So maybe we should talk about that now. So the good things were you were the only one. Well, Mike I live with too.
Yeah, not just like a living support worker. I want you to talk about that too, but just like also being a roommate with a person with a disability, right?
I mean, if we're gonna say the bad before the good, because there's tons of good. There's way more good than bad, to be honest. Let's start with the good. The good was proximity, like living with you. I could come upstairs in my t-shirt and underwear, and you were cool with it, and it was very relaxed. Like there was not really a dress code. There wasn't any kind of I didn't have to travel. If there's a snowstorm, it didn't matter. You know, I could have a couple beers and it was okay as long as I was not inebriated, lifting you up in the air and shit. So that was good. Another great thing is the conversations that we have, the deep emotional connection that me and you share. That was very beneficial to me as a man and as a person. You are a big supporter of me being an artist. You were very supportive of me being downstairs, my initial archaic versions of podcasts, like my punk rock poetry podcast. You were totally down with me doing that and allowing me to be an artist,
drumming
and myself. Drumming, I had my drums down there. I was growing my weed. I had my drums. I had my guitars. That was awesome. I mean, the good outweighs the bad. Honestly, the only bad thing, there's two things. Okay, the bad thing that I kind of, we talked about it, is that expecting too much of me. You know, expecting that's really hard on the psyche. But we talked about that, and conversation is key. Yeah. That was a hard thing. Another hard thing with living with you was escaping work. It's I was always at work, it seemed, right?
And for me, you were very I'm, especially now, I'm not able to leave the house as much as say you are, or like a regular roommate would be, right? So and that's one thing I said in my video yesterday is I said, guys, you have to consider that if your roommate ever wants alone time, it might not be in their own house because you might always be there. Yeah, sorry, continue. I just want to add that.
And basically what the not being able to escape, for me, you just got tied in with my own mental disabilities climaxing. You just happened to be in my life while my schizophrenia and my depression were climaxing in their worst states. So you were just kind of guilty by association. Dude, everything we did was a plus. There are no negatives.
And that happens with roommate situations.
For sure
roommates and friends who get along 99% of the time will still friggin' fight 1% of the time.
Yeah, you'll need
it. It doesn't mean it's not good.
I think a lot of our arguments that we've had in the past were based on me needing help that you couldn't provide.
Yeah.
And I was expecting too much of you. And during my state of devalued consciousness, consciousness that I don't want, during that state, I felt like you were asking me to do too much because I could only give you so much because I was dealing with so much on my own. So really, there's nothing negative that I can say that is just a static negative. For the most part, I guess then maybe a negative about being a live-in support worker is that your life gets entangled up a little too closely with people who are receiving supports by you. But I enjoyed that. Well, sorry?
It blurs the line.
It does.
And you have to wrestle with that on a constant basis, but it can be so worth it when you really get along, right?
Oh, for sure, dude. We had a couple blowouts, we had a couple arguments, and we're closer because of it. We're closer because of it, right?
100%, because honest, we're real, and then we understand the other person better.
Mm-hmm.
We still always love the other person,
Yeah.
right? Even though you're friggin' like 4,000 miles away, I still feel like we're getting closer and closer all the
Well,
time.
we spend a lot of time together. Like on the podcast, we talk pretty much
Yeah,
every day. We're talking about
yeah,
endeavors. We're talking about dreams. We're talking about it all,
yeah,
bro.
exactly.
That's what friends do, dude. Like I speak to you as much, if not more, than all of my best friends that I grew up with. Probably more, to be honest, because we have more in common. Me and you have more in common than them. They're doctors, being doctors. Me and you were just like
Yeah,
artists and creatives being creative. So we got more in common than
yeah, and
them.
we've both gone through a lot of fucking shit and
Yeah,
have still found ways to succeed.
still make it work.
Exactly, man. I think I don't know, man. I think we've had a good chat, and
I think so too.
I hope our audience enjoys the show. I'm getting a little bit tired and out of breath. So why don't, if you got anything else you want to share or plug, why don't you?
Go to owlcreekcoffee.com, buy some coffee
Thanks,
that
bud.
is disability owned and operated. Use the promo code LiveChat15 to save 15%. 10% of all proceeds go to Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy charities. It is stronger than cocaine. Go to owlcreekcoffee.com and use the promo code LiveChat15.
And check out his website. Seriously, uncensoredliterature.com. It's
Private
a
social
great,
media.
yeah, it's a great forum for creators to come together, and there's no wrong thing,
There's no
so it's all
rules.
good.
No
Yeah,
hate speech. That's it. If you want to complain about something and it's going to be,
yeah,
if you want to rip on somebody and do it politely and professionally, do it. But
yeah.
don't be causing any racism or anything. That's the only rule. Don't do anything that is illegal. Basically.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
Brendan, I love you. Thanks for coming on my show, and
Love you too, buddy.
we'll
Yep.
we'll do it again soon.
I can't wait. We'll see you soon. Peace, everybody. Conshinz on
Peace.
YouTube. CONSHINZ.
All right, guys, that was my interview with my good friend Brendon Wilkie, and check out his website. Honestly, check out his YouTube channel. Like he said, just do a YouTube search for Conshinz, CONSHINZ or Z, and yeah, it's awesome. And like it, share it, subscribe. I appreciate all that too. Thank you, guys. Peace.